going to call this regular meeting to order. And first, we're going to start with a moment of reflection. Thank you. At this point, you can make disclosure of pecuniary interest or at any point in time through the meeting should one occur. And next, we're going to move on to confirmation of the agenda. If I could have we have a slight adjustment to the agenda. We have a closed session, a matter pertaining to solicitor client privilege, item 13.1. So if I could have a motion to approve the agenda as amended, that would be great. Councillor McDermott, Deputy Warden Agates. Those in favor? That's carried. Okay, going to move on here. Consent agenda item. We have items 5.1 to 5.11 and the May 5th, 2022 council minutes. Does anyone want to see anything pulled out of that for discussion of the consent agenda? Not seeing any hands and not hearing anything. So I have a motion that council receives consent agenda items 5.1 to 5.11 and approves the May 5th, 2022 council minutes. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, moving on. Next, we have public meetings, public hearings and delegations. And before we get to the planning meeting, we have had a request from Michael Watson and Brian Hawking. He's the legal counsel and the CEO of the Orba. And what they would like to do is have permission to come on the agenda to make a delegation. What they want to discuss is something that's already been dealt with by council and approved. I can't remember the exact date we approved that. It was 3 months ago. Anyway, is there, and it has to do with our capital work project. So is there anyone on council who would be willing to make a motion to allow them to make a delegation? I'm not seeing any hands. So if we don't have a motion, that means we're not going to get a 2/3 vote and the delegation would be denied. Right.
Through the word, that's correct.
Okay, so we're going to move on to planning. And to start with, we have some public meetings. And what I need to do is have a motion to recess council for the purpose of holding a planning public meeting at 9:05. Moved by Councillor Kellum, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? Okay, so we are now in a public meeting for planning. And we got all coming on. I'm sure we've got some delegations and stuff.
We do.
Get this flipped up.
Just hit you.
Okay, so public meeting is, first off, we need a public, we need to approve the agenda for the public meeting. So I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Hurlick, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? That's carried. And next, we actually have minutes from February 17th, 2022 public meeting on OPA 201, OPA 202, OPA 203, an application for plan of subdivision by 789274 Ontario Inc. And I need a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Councillor McDermott, seconder, Councillor Wilhelm. Any discussion on those minutes? Those in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. So now we have the plan of subdivision for WP 21.02. And Susanna's going to be presenting that, so we'll have to get Susanna up on the screen. Trying to keep it short. Morning, Susanna.
Good morning.
We are ready for your report on this plan of subdivision.
Okay. Thank you very much, Warden Aitchison, and good morning, Council. I have a few slides to walk through for the plan of subdivision, which is WP 21-02. The applicant is a numbered company which is owned by Michael Van Pelt. So I'm trusting you can see my slides now.
Yep, they're up there for me anyway.
Okay, super. The red star is showing you the location of the subject property. It's in Mitchell, immediately north of Frank Street. It is west of Blanchard Street, Highway 23, in the south part of Mitchell. As I mentioned, the owner or developer of the property is a numbered company, which is owned by Michael Van Pelt, and Trevor McNeil is acting as an agent for this property. So here is an air photo of that part of Mitchell. Again, this is Blanchard Street, Highway 23. The location of the subject property is here, shown in red. It's immediately adjacent to Upper Thames Village, which is a previous development by Michael Van Pelt. And you can see it's north of this area in Mitchell referred to as Fisherville, which is in the Fullerton ward, and beside undeveloped land south of Clayton Street. And here is a map that shows the designations in the Mitchell official plan. So the yellow is a residential designation. And again, the subject property is here, immediately beside or fronting Nelson Street, which is unopened at this time. Here is the zoning for the property. It's an R4 special zone with a holding provision on it. Again, the subject property is here. And the special zone, the -H8, permits one single detached dwelling on one lot in accordance with the R2 zone provisions. So the zoning is set up to permit 6 single detached dwellings. So this is the subdivision application is submitted by the developer. It's 11 lots fronting Nelson Street. This is the previous development, which is referred to as Upper Thames Village, and an air photo of the same area. So the blue outline is the subject property. This is the undeveloped Nelson Street, and this is Upper Thames Village. These are 2020 air photos. So this this is a condominium, and it's I'd say completely built out. I think they're finishing some of the final work to the lots at the south end of the development. So the lot area of the 11 lots ranges between 634 square meters is the corner property, and the smallest is 505 square meters. And this information is here in feet as well, if that's your preference. The lot frontages range between 48 feet to 65 feet, which calculates to 17 units per hectare. I have some photos of the area. So this is standing on Frank Street looking north, and this is the Nelson Street as it's proposed to be developed. This is Upper Thames Village here to the east, undeveloped land to the west. And now this is at the other end of the development looking south. So I'm standing on Clayton Street now. And here are some photos of the surrounding area. So the number 1 here shows where I was standing when I took this picture. So this is the backyards of the condos that are developed in Upper Thames Village, and the lots to be developed on Nelson Street are here. This is walking along the unopened road allowance, the backs of the condos in Upper Thames Village. And further along, there's a pile of fill which will be removed to develop the north part of the subject property. So here is Upper Thames Village. So number one is standing at the north end on Clayton Street, looking into the condominium. So the sign here notes that this is a private road as it's a condominium. Number two, this is here, and this is a 4-unit apartment building, 4-unit apartments which are being rented. And just another view of the condo, which has, aside from this 4-unit apartment building, is all single detached dwellings ranging between 1,200 and 1,300 square feet. Oops. Okay, and this is just photos of the area. So Fisherville to the south is developed on septic systems, as it's in the former Fullerton ward, or in the Fullerton ward, the former Fullerton Township. And these lots are around 2,000 square feet. Sorry, 2,000 square meters. Sorry for flipping back and forth. And this is standing at the entrance to the Upper Thames Village, looking west, looking east. And then north of the subject property, this is property owned, this land is owned by the municipality of West Perth, and there's a swim pond there. It's also used for recreational activities. These are the backs of the residential units along Clayton Street. This is looking straight south towards the unopened road allowance, which is Nelson Street, looking straight south on Nelson Street, and to the west, which is undeveloped land. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing now. The planning report reviews the planning considerations for this application. The applicant has provided both a functional servicing report and an archaeological assessment. The functional servicing report has been reviewed by the municipality's engineer, BM Ross, and Bruce Potter is the engineer who reviewed that report. And he is satisfied with the report is submitted to develop the land on full municipal services. The conditions for doing so will be included in the municipal development agreement. With regards to the archaeological study, stage 1 archaeological assessment was completed, which reports that there is archaeological potential. And that the requirements for the archaeological review will be completed as the stage 2 review will be completed as the land is developed. The one additional planning issue that has been considered and discussed with West Perth Council as well is the question with regards to affordable and attainable housing. So the development, as you can see, is proposing 11 singles. And the discussion at, well, both the direction from West Perth, or sorry, from the PPS and the Mitchell Fisher Plan, and also discussed with West Perth Council, is with regards to how developments are responding to the need for affordable and attainable housing. So I do have an additional slide, which I'll just share now, because I thought it would be interesting for council to see what the difference was between the first phase and the second phase. So this column reports with the yellow heading reports on the first phase, Upper Thames Village, with regards to the total lot area and the density. And then the second phase you can see is here reports on the lot area. So it's a smaller area there. The road allowance is not included in the density calculations. So as a result, the density works out to slightly higher for the second phase, while the lots in the first phase are smaller. As I showed you with the slide, so the density for the first and second phases together works out to 16.4 units. I showed you a photo in the when I was reviewing the application of a 4-unit apartment building, which has been incorporated into the Upper Thames Village development. And that increases the density, of course, of the first phase of the development. There were discussions with the possibility of rental units with the developer through his agent, and he indicated that that wasn't something that he was willing to consider at this time. Then subsequent to the planning department's review, there was a discussion with West Perth Council with regards to the density, and I will just flag that for council's consideration. There have been comments received from neighboring property owners, which I understand have been forwarded to county council. So I could speak to any of those questions. And again, and I understand that a number of people have registered to speak at this public meeting. So additional planning comments could be provided. So this is a public meeting. No decision is being sought at this meeting today. The intention of this meeting is to receive comments from the public. Those are my planning comments, Warden Aitchison.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Okay, at this point, any questions from council on what we've heard to this point? Or comments? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands going up, so we shall move on in this process, and we do have 5 delegation requests. And the first one would be Trevor McNeil from MTE, right? If we can get Trevor up there, that'll be good. Okay, then you're gonna put Michael Van Pelt up as well.
Morning, Council. Warden Aitchison.
Morning, Trevor, and I see I now have Michael Van Pelt on the screen, so we're ready for your delegation. We'll start with you, Trevor.
Okay, thank you very much. The just in response to talking about the densities and that the development of this property was a 2-stage development from the beginning. So we have I forwarded a couple of slides to Sean there at the county that was going to put them up. There's one there called Van Pelt Condo that would probably show best what the overall development was intended to be. Could put that up, please. There we go. So as Susanna alluded to, stage 1 of the development was for the condominium, vacant land condominium process, which got the densities. And then, of course, at that point, the stage 2, which is what we're doing now, was always been the idea of doing the single lots fronting onto Nelson Street. Main reason for the condo being done first is at the time we were doing this, there was no interest from adjoining landowners to develop Nelson Street. So we weren't sure at what time Nelson Street would get built in the future. So we proceeded with the vacant land condominium. It created a need for the town as it gave us smaller units, more affordable for people to own as a vacant land condominium. And also unit 26 there was the 4-plex unit, which gave us 4 rental units for that. At the time this was done, the zoning was completed for the entire property, which is why the zone is R4-8, which the -8 allows for the single dwelling units, which was the intent for the stage 2 of the lots fronting onto Nelson Street. In recent conversations, the owners to the west of Nelson showed interest in developing some of their land now and having Nelson Street constructed. So that's why we're moving ahead now with the 11 lots, because there is agreement from the other neighbors and the town to put Nelson Street through. So that is why we're moving ahead with that now. So as far as all the other planning comments, we're in agreement with the draft plan conditions. They're pretty typical, nothing out of the ordinary there. I know, unfortunately, we weren't able to attend the West Perth council meeting because it's a closed matter that we're not invited to. But watching it on YouTube, I know there was concerns about densities because there is quite a few subdivisions going on in Mitchell and that area. And they all initially come to the town as single dwelling units. And the town is looking for more attainable, densified housing. So I guess that was our biggest comment on that, is that this development in full was a 2-stage development. And we did all the densities in our stage 1, which gave us the smaller lots, the smaller units and the rental units. And now we're just moving along with stage 2, which has always been anticipated to be the single lots. As this development is being done as a plan of subdivision, the lots, of course, will be sold to individuals who will build their own houses on it. There's nothing to say that some of those may end up having secondary units in them at some point, but it's something as the lot seller, and I'm sure Michael can attest to, we can't force people to put a second unit in their home when they decide to build their house on the lot. We're only looking at selling the lots, and then people will build their own houses on them at this point. I think that was the main issue we wanted to get across. There was, just for reference, if Sean would put up the other one, the previous plan of subdivision, which was done under the Bice's numbered company quite a few years ago, was to do this development as all single lots. Just so you can see, oh, no, sorry, the other one. Oh, there's this one too, that had it all single, and as you can see, a single lots, there would have only been 24 units on that property. There was another one there too, Sean, of the Bice's they sent you yesterday. Had a number in the file name.
Bear with me here. I thought that was the one. Apologies.
Okay, thank you. So as you can see, this was the original Bice plan of subdivision, draft plan of subdivision, and they had built the first 7 lots and then end up selling phase 2 and phase 3 to the Van Pelts. So originally the approval on this property was for this draft plan of subdivision, which again was going to be all single lots. And extending Street A to the south, we wouldn't have had near as many units on the property as we do now with the current development. There would have only been, because Van Pelts only owned the one half of the land to the south, there would have just been a road there with lots on one side. So we would have only had about 20 units on there had that draft plan continued on. And then, but we did switch and went to the vacant land condo, as was the previous slides. And I don't know if Michael wants to add anything to those comments.
Yes, thank you, Trevor, and thank you, Council, for giving us the opportunity. We
Stop screen sharing. That's better.
There you go.
there we go.
Michael.
I think maybe two or three additions in terms of context of actually the nature of the first stage of the property. There's a couple things that's unique about Upper Thames Village that actually kind of meets the intent. For example, that Councillor Ait was expressing at West Perth at the last at their meeting. Those lots are all 45-foot lots. That subdivision, as Trevor noted, replaces an already approved draft subdivision that didn't have near the density. But I think what's most unique is actually what is actually built on those lots. All of those properties, there's 25 units there. They're approximately 1,300 square feet. And if you actually look at how those properties went on to the market, I don't think there is anything else in the township of West Perth that is as affordable as those units there. As everyone knows, nothing is affordable today in the housing world, unfortunately, and there's many reasons for that. But this is a unique property in the fact that it actually is the most affordable units, single dwelling units in the town at this present time. Second of all, I'm not sure if there's anything else in West Perth where that has collected a community, as it were, of 25 lots of this size. I've been developing in the township of West Perth, or Mitchell as I call it, for a long time now. And I've seen many developers. What happens is you kick into gear all your singles, you make commitments for semis over a period of time, and then as that time comes, you push ahead on the singles. In fact, what we've done is literally the opposite of that. We made a commitment, we took a risk on a unique kind of housing. I think the other factor that should be considered, this housing is very targeted to a community that was actually not staying in the town of Mitchell, that was moving out of the town of Mitchell just because the kind of housing needs that they were looking for. So Upper Thames Village is built for a retirement market, and it's built with a very unique barrier-free design throughout all of the units that are owned by the landowners. So I would encourage council, and I appreciate the advisory motion, but I think the advisory motion overlooks of West Perth overlooks this reality in stage 1 and simply looks at stage 2. With respect to stage 2, when this was approved, it was actually West Perth Council who approved this site-specific zoning. And I know at the West Perth meeting that I felt that was overlooked. That zoning already does provide a lot of flexibility in with respect to the kind of housing options on the development that you are looking at this point right now. It is in fact the Township of West Perth that did approve that that zoning at that time based on the very configuration that we are presenting today. So literally nothing has changed. All of you are quite aware of the basic principles of zoning. The idea is to be able to give communities, developers, homeowners a consistent look at what can be done in the future. This is exactly what has happened here. The final thing I think that needs consideration is the way the lots are presently configured are designed for the most flexibility. They're designed to actually be able to put semis on if someone wishes to. But more importantly, at a human level, I'll just do this by way of illustration and then finish up. We have been approached by one homeowner who wishes to buy a lot. Their interest is actually to put a secondary unit in that is barrier-free. Their parents are, this is bringing two families together for parents that they don't want to go to a retirement home or to a nursing home. In order to accomplish that, by narrowing the lots, it makes it nearly difficult and impossible to move to secondary units that meet that need. Not impossible, but quite difficult, including parking issues as well. So there's lots of flexibility on this present development already. It is exactly what the Township of West Perth had approved in its zoning efforts when we started this. And there's a pretty significant demand. I think in a post-COVID world, there's going to be a lot more interested in secondary dwelling units as well. This creates that kind of capability. One more clarification, if I may, that was incorrect in this property is actually not just owned by myself. My brother Aaron Van Pelt and myself have been developing in the town of Mitchell for many years. Both stage 1 and stage 2 are owned by both Aaron and by myself. Thank you,
Michael. Thanks. Any questions for either Trevor McNeil or Michael Van Pelt from council? Councillor Wright.
Well, being kind, my name keeps coming up. Trevor, I'll be talking to you later about a site plan. But Mike, I didn't realize under the Affordable Housing Act, which I'm the chair of, 148 pages, Trevor, thanks very much. I had a great history lesson. The people who owned all these properties since the early 1800s. I did realize, I just got a text reading all through it, that if under the Affordable Housing Act, which is perfect, these lots are listed here to be only at $110,000. So the average lot in Mitchell right now is between 180 and 200. So that in my books makes these affordable lots. I would make sure you put in a build clause because the contractor that just texted me said he would buy them all when he read that. So get a clause in there that says when you sell these lots for 110,000, which is right here on page 10, that the people build out and don't speculate on them. But so I had, as affordable housing, I had the problem there of maybe more density, but Susanna shows that the density is actually greater than the condominium corporation. That's true, Suzanne, right? You said like 17 to 16.4. So it does meet the density. I was a little worried about the 66-foot lot, which is actually the corner lot. So it's a bit bigger because it has to be for sightline. So I think our letter from the town, we all kind of thought more density. Suzanne explains that the density is there and the price is lower. So affordable housing, this does meet, I would say, the criteria. So that's all I want to say.
Other comments or questions? Councillor McKenzie.
Well, I'd just like to comment a little bit, I guess, as well. And it's kind of a lesson in new math and old math. And I think the feeling at the West Perth Council the night that we had that before us, well, if you have 11 lots, if you could possibly put 12 lots in there, you'd have more density. But that's not necessarily the case, as Michael has pointed out there now. More lots don't necessarily mean higher density or even attainable or affordable housing. In the example that we have with the lots the way they are, secondary units would be allowed, or even semis would be allowed. So with that being allowed, and with the existing lots, you could increase the density. And as you put semis or secondary residences in there, you've also achieved obtainable or as more affordable housing than what would be there just a single family unit. So I think, certainly I support what Michael is promoting here. And I think we were maybe just a little bit uneducated at West Perth when we made that decision. We were focused on higher density, but not necessarily looking at the actual numbers. So I just like to add that to the comments.
Any further comments from Trevor or Michael after those two comments?
I was just going to add, I know we are very aware of West Perth's concern for densities, and if we hadn't done the first stage as the vacant land condominium to get those densities in there, and also with this layout, West Perth as a whole, with any other towns right now, getting densities up is a priority. When we understand the concerns.
Councillor Kassenberg has his hand up.
Just a quick question. Just want to make sure I cover this base. I've heard a lot of talk about the possibility that these lots could hold semis. Can you confirm that?
I think Michael had his hand up there.
Yeah, so
Michael,
there's multiple configurations of housing options there, and yes, one of them includes semis. That's a decision that was already made when the development started. This is a site-specific zoning situation, and so yes, that in fact is the case.
Other questions or comments?
Just to say, I believe a zoning bylaw amendment would be required in order for semis to be on the properties. Is that consistent with your understanding, Michael? Okay, we can talk about that.
I see him shaking his head no, but that's further discussion, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions for these two individuals, we're going to move on to the next delegation. And that would be Michelle Chessel.
Or through you, on here, all the delegations we received, I just have John Van Ass at the moment.
John Van Ass?
Yeah.
So that's the only one we have?
Yes.
Okay, well then we're going to move to him.
Oh, Michelle just logged on there.
Oh.
We'll come back to her after.
Sorry. So is Michelle there?
She is. You want me to bring her on now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
Here we go.
Apologies for that. I'm just going.
And you can leave John there.
Oh, John right now.
Morning, Michelle. We're ready for your delegation.
Good morning. Not really just a delegation. I just want to comment. I am one of the homeowners in the Upper Thames Upper Thames Village.
No other comments?
Can you hear me all right?
I can now.
Okay, sorry. Sorry. So I'm one of the homeowners in Upper Thames Village.
Keep going. She's talking, but I'm not hearing her. Would you?
Okay, so I'm not sure, it keeps cutting out on me. Anyways, I just wanted to comment that I am in total support of the original plan of subdivision behind us.
Any additional comments, Michelle?
No.
Okay, thank you. I do believe we have, what's that? Okay, yeah, I don't believe we have. So Shelley and David aren't on here yet? Okay, so then we're gonna move on to John. And is John on here? Yep, there we go. Okay, John, we're ready for your presentation.
We're just a little confused. We did not register to speak on anything. We just wanted to observe the meeting, so we have nothing to say on any of it.
Okay. Well, I'm just going by what's been put in front of me. So you have no real comments to make in either support of or against?
No, we don't.
Okay. Well, that answers all the questions then. Thank you very much. Okay. Any further comments from council on this matter? Susanna, do you have anything to add at this point?
It looks like there was just another email sent from Laura Warner. I'm not sure if, would you like me to read that into the record?
Yeah, we're still in public meeting, so might as well do her now, then have to go back to it.
Okay. All right, sorry, it's from Laura Campbell. So it's addressed to Michelle Evans. There are a couple concerns that I have, which other people may have indicated that they wish further information on for Plan of Subdivision WP21-02 by 2455058 Ontario Inc. If not, I would be glad to present these inquiries. 1, building materials have doubled and some materials have tripled in cost since 2015 when the affordable housing study was done. In light of the 20% being designated as affordable housing, how does the builder plan on being able to build aesthetically pleasing and durable housing while meeting current building codes? 2, sewer lines are to be extended from Clayton Street south on Nelson Street to Frank Street. The plans at this time do not include going west on Frank Street. 3, in the previous and past years, water accumulates at the corner of Nelson Street and Frank Street after a heavy rain, to the point of forming a large shallow pond. After development, there will be less land in which to absorb the rainwater. In your study, the rainwater is to be diverted to the drain on the south side of Frank Street. In the past, this house has had flooding in the basement after large downpours. Will a storm sewer be connected on the north side of Frank and Henry Street to prevent flooding in neighborhood houses with a backflow on the storm sewer on the south side of Frank Street? Thank you in advance, Laura Campbell.
Thanks, Susanna. Just when we've got Trevor and Michael on here, any comments to those comments?
2 things. Number 1, part of these issues are related to the fact that it's an undeveloped piece of property at this point in time. Number 2, and the functional services report will has dealt with that. Second of all, when we move to a subdivision agreement with the municipality, obviously an MTE is a consultant, the engineering consultant on those issues. So those, any kind of concerns that I can understand from neighbors on that will be dealt with at that point in time. Second thing is we're the developer. I understand her concerns with respect to building costs. That's a issue that is for everyone. But at this point in time, the applicant, we're the developer.
Thank you. Okay, there's no more questions or comments. No late emails again. I have a motion in front of me that Perth County Council received a report and application for plan of subdivision WP21-02 by 2455058 Ontario Inc. affecting lands described as part of Park Lot 46, Registered Plan 339, Reference Plan 44R-5628, Parts 1 and 4, Nelson Street, Mitchell Ward, Municipality of West Perth. And the council receives comments from the public for consideration for the proposed plan of subdivision while reserving a decision for a regular meeting of Perth County Council. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Height. Last chance for questions or comments. Those in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much, Trevor and Michael, and till next time.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
I also now have a motion that the public meeting be adjourned at, what's that?
Any other business?
Is there any other business discussing this? I'm not thinking you've got a whole lot. And we're gonna adjourn the public meeting at 9:42, moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? And that would be carried. So we're back into regular council. And I have a motion. I gotta get all my motions up here. I got paper everywhere. Regular council reconvene at 9:47, moved by Councillor Kazenberg, second by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor? That is carried. And we are moving on again. And next we have, gotta get my piece of paper lined up right.
Just so you know, I'm making a change to 9:40.
You're making a change to,
Just the time, you said 9:40.
Oh.
9:43.
oh, I was just going off that clock.
Oh, good.
Okay,
Yeah.
apparently my time wasn't right. We have to correct the time by 3 minutes or something. Anyway, we're moving on. We have staff reports. And the first one is CAO Perth County Website Program. And that would be Sarah taking that away.
Wonderful. Thank you, Warden Aitchison and members of council. Sean, if you don't mind putting up the slides, that would be wonderful. Before you today is an information report regarding the website program that is led by corporate communications. So if you want to switch to the next slide, please. So the website in its current form was launched in 2017 and contains roughly 126 pages of content that we've organized into 4 main verticals of content. The website really serves as an important communications tool that contributes to open and accessible government and information for the public. The primary goal of the website is to communicate clearly and effectively to the public, but it also provides opportunities for customer service excellence, which directly relates to our strategic plan. Corporate communications does lead content strategies and page reorganization and restructuring, as well as new page development. But I would like in particular to mention the collaboration with the team in technology services, who do assist with technical requirements and updates and troubleshooting with our service provider. We're regularly collaborating with divisions to update content, and I've included some examples in the report on some recent updates. So another component of the website program is obviously training with new staff that comes on board or staff who need refresh on utilizing the different tools related to the website. I work regularly with staff to get them up to speed on the training they need to be able to update their sections of the website, in addition to working with managers and staff on an appropriate workflow that assists with the ability to balance publishing content in a timely fashion while also providing a bit of a safety net and checks and balances in place for content review prior to live publishing. Another component of monitoring that I do is analytics. So many of you may be familiar with Google Analytics. That's the main metric that we use to observe the traffic on the website. And we've seen just from the statistics, a steady growth in traffic over time on the website. More and more people are searching for information in that fashion. And I think certainly the pandemic had an impact to this. We use this information as a tool to help prioritize where content is placed, identify content that needs to be updated and refreshed. And it's interesting to see the traffic on the website to understand what pages are sort of most accessed. And I just included some of our most heavily trafficked pages, which are road conditions, our PC Connect transit system, employment opportunities, GIS and maps, and provincial offenses rank in the top 5. Also with analytics, we can also understand where the traffic to the website is coming from. So primarily we're receiving traffic from organic search. That would likely be a search engine like Google, but we're also receiving a significant portion of traffic from social media, which tells us a bit about the work we're doing on social media to help promote programs and services and help people direct toward the correct information is resulting in an inflow to the website. Additionally, the website is a tool for community engagement. You'll remember the community engagement framework from 2021. It provides us the opportunity to create landing pages, use forms and surveys, as well as provide public information in a clear and accessible format for people to find at any time of the day. So lastly, there are lots of plans for additional content and refreshed content, and some upcoming projects include the Archives 50 Treasures program, as well as the grant program, updates to our roads and facilities information, the new official plan, and just creating an overall organizational information page. These page updates also happen in collaboration with each of our divisions. So I work directly with staff to make sure that the content is what they're hoping for, and also provide advice on how we can achieve the outcomes they're desiring. So that's a brief overview of my report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Sarah. Excellent report. Questions for Sarah on her report? So it was such a good report, there's not even questions. No, it's good. So I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives the Perth County website program report. Moved by Councillor Cullum, seconded by Councillor Wilhelm. Those in favor, that would be carried. And now we're going to move on to the PC Connect updates. So we have Maggie, I believe, is coming. I think last time she was off. So. Morning, Maggie.
Good morning, County Council.
We're ready for your report.
Awesome, thanks so much. So through the warden, I'd just like to provide a brief overview of our standard monthly PC Connect update report. So we have been seeing some continuous growth over the past few months in terms of ridership. And to align with our funding calendar, our operating year actually commenced on March 31st. And in our first full operating year, PC Connect completed a total of 4,671 rides across the entire service, which is just shy of 6,000 rides completed since our launch date in November of 2020. So we are continuing to actively market, actively market and advertise our PC Connect service through multimedia campaigns, which include both paid and organic channels. And with gas prices at an all-time high right now, we're certainly emphasizing the cost-saving benefits of riding PC Connect. So I was actually crunching some numbers yesterday while developing a bit of a marketing campaign. And of course, depending on what kind of car you drive, we concluded that at $2 a liter right now, you can get twice as far with your $6 when riding PC Connect. So we're really leaning into the affordability of the service at this time, and advertising PC Connect as an extremely economical way to travel right now. So we're also continuously working on community and employer outreach, where we've been out in the community, meeting with businesses, community services, organizations, to really educate them about the service and provide resources such as posters and brochures for distribution. I also just wanted to mention that there is a class order still in place, which continues to mandate masks on public transportation services throughout the province. So with that being said, we are continuing to remind our PC Connect riders to always wear a mask when on board our PC Connect fleet. And that concludes my brief update for you today. I welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Maggie. Questions for Maggie on her report? Not seeing it. I got one little quick question. I have seen the emails and read them. So just so council is aware, we've had some staffing issues periodically on one of the routes, the driver not available. And they've done everything in their power to deal with it. Are they any closer to solving that problem?
Yes, through the warden, it is, we have, as you mentioned, had some issues with our service provider providing staffing on all of our routes and all the scheduled times. So specifically Route B has been feeling the consequences of that. And it has often been shifted over to Route B because our ridership is low on that route. Unfortunately, it has been, we went through a few months where it's really great and we didn't miss any shifts in scheduling. However, lately they have been seeing some illnesses due to COVID and just having issues keeping that staffed. So it's hard to say they've been kind of on and off, but we're certainly helping as much as we can to promote job positions for them and hopefully eliminate the staffing issues moving forward.
And like you said, with the price of fuel, I'm thinking that service may get more ridership. Hopefully. Thank you very much, Maggie.
Thank you.
And that's not a staffing issues. That's the same with every organization going right now. It isn't just this. Anyway, but it's something you got to deal with, and they've done a great job of dealing with it because it's not always a lot of lead knowledge of it when it's going to happen, but they've done a great job of dealing with it. So we're doing our best. Okay. There's no other questions or comments. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the PC Connect April 2022 update report. Moved by Councillor Kassenberg, second by Deputy Warden Nagels. Those in favor? That is carried. Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to move on to the Legal Corporate Services report, and that would be Annette.
Good morning. This report provides a brief overview of the division's activities for the month of April. A good news story, the Accessibility Advisory Committee has provided direction to staff to purchase a bench to be placed along the interpretive recreational trail at Archives as a place of rest and reflection, and in celebration of Archives' 50th anniversary. Speaking of Archives, they have begun transitioning back to drop-in access for the reading room. For provincial offenses, courts do remain hybrid. However, there have recently been 3 in-person proceedings with the permission of the Regional Senior Justice of the Peace. Otherwise, matters will continue to be held remotely unless there's further notice from the province or again, permission from the Regional Senior Justice of the Peace. A brief update on the administrative monetary penalty system. This is AMPS, which you'll recall is the camera-based offenses program that we are investigating and includes school bus arm cameras. I want to make it clear that we will be providing you with a more fulsome report, but just briefly, the Ministry of Transportation is developing some guidelines to help municipalities determine whether or not to establish an AMPS framework. And AMO is also developing a full end-to-end service with additional details to be provided in August. The government recently enacted new legislation, another regulation, which will take effect in July, which will also impact on this potential program. So we have met with MAG and with the Ministry of Transportation. So again, we will be providing you with an update, but I'd like to manage expectations in terms of what to expect, because I know that there was some comments at a previous council meeting that, could we implement this service by September? My preliminary thoughts are no. This legislation, as I mentioned, is coming into effect in July, and we will have additional resources available to us through AMO in August, and potentially guidelines from the ministry available in July. So as I mentioned, a full report will be coming, but I do just want to set that out to manage expectations and potential timeframes. In terms of what's happening in other divisions, IT and GIS is working towards how to best continue to support the official plan, and they are engaging in reviewing the zoning bylaw data. Finance is working on our asset management plan, tax planning, and various other mandated reporting requirements. And in terms of highlights for the upcoming month, stay tuned for some proposed revisions to our grant program. Information will be gathered from the lower tiers with a proposal for council's approval to be brought forward. And as I mentioned, you'll also be receiving an update with regards to the potential implementation of an AMPS program, which will include school bus arm cameras. So subject to any questions, that is my report.
Thanks, Annette. Questions for Annette on her report? Not seeing any hands go up. So I have a motion that County Council receives the legal/corporate services April 2022 update report. Moved by Deputy Warden Agus and seconded by anybody in the screen. I'll take Councillor Hurley. Those in favor? That is carried. Okay, we're going to move on now to small scale on-farm business subclasses. So we need to bring Corey in for that. I'm not trying to ram this too far, but we do have a couple councillors that need to leave by 11, so I'm trying to keep us going here. Just so you know where. Corey, there you are. Morning.
Good morning, Warden.
We're ready for the subclass, for the small scale on-farm business subclass report.
Okay, sounds great. So this report is in front of you. It's in relation to 2021, some additional provincial legislation changes in relation to the small on-scale farm. Back in 2019, we adopted the first subclass, the first $50,000 of the subclass in relation to industrial and commercial, getting a reduction in their essentially on-farm ability to reduce their commercial industrial tax rate to 75% of the actual tax rate that is in there. Within 2021, the province had allowed to increase additional subclass of an additional $50,000 to $100,000 in relation to this subclass. This does help allow farmers to be able to diversify their farming operations and still achieve some type of subsidization within the tax program on a small scale. As you'll note, if they scale exceeds $1 million, they will not receive this discount as it requires the assessment to be with under $1 million to be able to, and they only receive the discount on the first $100,000 of assessment. To note as well, there was a letter from Perth South Council looking for us to endorse this at County Council, as the policy or bylaw needs to be passed by County Council for the purpose of this on scale optional classes. So if there's any questions from council, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Corey. Councillor Wright.
Can you just give me an example of a small scale on farm? I'm drawing a blank on this for some reason. Are you talking about like the $100,000? Is that the building, Corey? Like, is
Correct.
it?
Yes. So it's a building that would then house a frontage that they would have patrons come onto their farm to purchase eggs. It essentially becomes a commercial component of their operation. that would see that. So the one property that has been identified within Perth South is McCully Farms. McCully Farms is on a farm land, but they have a commercial operation on that property. So that commercial operation receives on the first, now it would be 100,000, a discount to 75% of that commercial rate. Same with if there was any production done in an industrial fashion on the farm, and again, a small scale, the first $100,000 of assessment of that property would get the discount. So for example, if it was $200,000 of assessment in that property, in that commercial property, the 100,000 would get the discount. The other 100,000 would pay the full commercial rate.
So we're talking like maybe the big dairy farm that makes their own cheese over on the Kirkton Road there, or all the Amish Mennonites that have shops up in Perth East. So
Correct.
we're talking about a substantial amount of money that we'll lose.
Small scale. It's only $100,000 of assessment, and they are paying 75% discount. So MPAC is the required a corporation that is looking at these properties for this essentially discount. And if you look at my report, only 2 properties currently fall under this, currently, as identified by MPAC.
Other questions? Don't see any hands up. I have a motion here. Perth County Council receives a small scale on-farm business subclass report, and that Perth County Council approves the second subclass for both commercial and industrial classes. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McDermott, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Last chance for questions or comments. Those in favor? And that's carried. Perfect. Thanks, Corey. We're going to move on to the next one. And that is the tax ratios.
Perfect. Thank you, Warden and Council. Based on our discussion of May 5th, basically staff are bringing back a report on tax rates for 2022 year, and essentially utilizing the ratios of 2021 to be incorporated in our 2022 tax policy. If there's any questions on this report, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Corey. Questions on this report? Not seeing any hands. This is kind of vital to get this approved so that the lower tiers can commence with their tax programs. So I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the tax ratios and tax rates report, and that Perth County Council adopt the tax ratios for 2022 as those of 2021 for all the respective classes as follows. And it says, see the table in the report. And I'm not going to read off all those classes. We've got the information. And the classes and all the numbers are on the website. So do I have a mover and a seconder? Deputy Warden Agats, moved, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Last chance for questions on this subject. Those in favor? That's carried. Perfect, unanimous, I believe. Okay, thank you very much, Corey.
You're welcome.
And now we're moving on to winter maintenance contract progression update, Public Works, and I'm not sure.
Bring Bill and John.
John's coming. And Bill?
Yeah.
We'll get John and Bill back on the screen. I need John, but I kind of assume maybe Bill would do. Or sometimes it says John and Bill comes. Morning again there, John and Bill, and we're ready for your report on the winter maintenance contracts progression.
Great. Thank you, Warden Aitchison. Good morning, Council. This report is to update council on the 3 contracts relating to winter maintenance that require renewal in 2022. All 3 contracts are integral in the delivery of effective and efficient winter operations service. The supply of road salts and the delivery of road salts are both multi-year contracts administered by the county on behalf of our local municipalities, the city of Stratford, and the town of St. Mary's. All of our municipal partners have indicated that they wish to continue with the procurement arrangement, and county staff will begin preparing tenders for both contracts. It should be noted that the last time we tendered for these services, we only received 1 bid for each tender. As well, the cost for the supply of road salt increased by about 25% over the previous contract. The final winter maintenance contract that requires renewal is the winter maintenance service contract. Over the last decade, these services have been provided by the Murray Group, and last year we extended the contract to cover the 2021-2022 winter season. At that time, the contractor had indicated there were factors impeding their ability to commit to extensions beyond the 1-year term. Those factors still exist, and staff are now preparing to tender for these services once again. In the past, the 2 contracted plow runs were out of our Milverton yard. Staff are concerned with the availability of contractors in the area to provide these services, and we're informing council that we'll be looking to provide more flexibility in the tender of which plow runs and yards can be bid on. This will hopefully open up bid opportunities for other potential contractors. So we plan to bring back tender results to council for all 3 contracts during the summer months. And lastly, I'd just like to acknowledge the 3 service providers: Compass Minerals for the supply of road salts, Boston and McCann for the delivery of road salts, and the Murray Group for winter maintenance services. Certainly, we had concerns with these services and potential impacts through the pandemic. And I can inform council there were no major issues, and all 3 providers worked effectively with us to continue to deliver essential winter operations throughout the county. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Bill, you got anything to add there?
Thank you, Warden. I don't have anything to add to John's summary of the report there.
Okay, any questions for John or Bill from council? Fairly straightforward report. Councillor Wilhelm.
John, in this delivery of the sand and salt, will you be looking at putting some kind of fuel surcharge in for the price, depending on what fuel does?
Through the warden, yes, Councillor Wilhelm, we do provide a fuel index within that delivery of road salt contract.
Other questions? Not seeing any hands. I have a motion. Perth County Council receives the winter maintenance contracts progression update report. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, second by Councillor Duncan. Those in favor? That's carried. Perfect, thanks. And now we're going to move on to council reports. Thanks, John and Bill. Anybody have anything under council reports? Not seeing any hands go up. Now we're going to go to bylaws, and we've got 4 to do. And the first one is 3875-2022. Be read a first, second, and third time and finally pass this 19th day of May 2022. And that is your small scale on farm subclass we just approved. Moved by Councillor Wilhelm, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Those in favor? And that would be carried. And the next one we have is bylaw 3876-2022. Be ready first, second, and third time. And finally pass this 19th day of May 2022. And that is the requisition bylaw. Do I have a mover and a seconder on that one? Councillor Wilhelm, Deputy Warden Agats. Any discussion? Those in favor? And that is carried. And then we have bylaw number 3877-202 be read a first, second, and third time. And finally pass this 19th day of May 2022. And that is your tax ratio bylaw. Moved by Counselor Kassenberg, seconded by Counselor Wilhelm. Those in favor? That would be carried. And then we're moving on to bylaw 3878-2022 be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 19th day of May 2022, and that is your tax reduction bylaw. Counselor Kellum moves, and a seconder of Counselor Ite. Those in favor? That's carried. Perfect. That takes care of those. Do we have any notice of motions? Other business? Not see any hands. Any announcements? Not seeing any hands. We do have a closed session. And I have a motion that Perth County Council moves into closed session at approximately, and my clock says 10:12.
That's what I got to.
Okay. In accordance with section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, to consider a matter pertaining to solicitor-client privilege / planning. Moved by Counselor Kassenberg, second by Counselor McDermott. Those in favor? That is carried. So we're just going to have okay, got the thumbs up. So we only have a couple things left to do, and one is the confirmation bylaw. So I have bylaw number 3879-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the corporation of the county of Perth at its regular meeting held May 19th, 2022 is read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed May 19th, 2022. Moved by Counselor Wilhelm, Counselor Duncan. Those in favor? That's carried. And last but not least, that the council meeting be adjourned at 10:23. Moved by Counselor McKenzie, seconded by Counselor McDermott. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much.